Welcome students to part 2 of cast metal restorations. In the previous lecture, we have discussed the indications, contraindications, advantages and disadvantages of cast metal restorations. And we have seen some of the design features of cast metal restorations such as various bevels given in cast metal restorations and also the flares, primary flares and secondary flares which are given in a cast metal restoration. Today we are going to discuss about the tooth preparation for typical inlay and onlay preparation. So let's look at principles for tooth preparation for cast metal inlay. Inlay is a restoration which involves the proximal, occlusal and proximal surfaces of the tooth, and it may or may not cap all the cusps. This is how a typical inlay preparation looks like. Now let us see at the design features of the inlay. So the preparation of the tooth surface, okay, if you look at the preparation of the tooth surface, the cavity the cavity walls are diverging from the pulpal floor towards the occlusal cave surface. This is done diverging so that it enables us to take the impression once the preparation has been done. At the same time, it also enables to seat the cast restoration onto the tooth surface. Okay. The cave surface margins in the preparation are beveled all throughout. On the occlusal side, you have the occlusal bevel. On the proximal, you have proximal flares, and the gingival side, you have the gingival bevel. The reason for giving the bevels are it gives an obtuse cave surface margin, okay, which provides for 30 degrees to 40 degrees marginal metal which can be burnished to the cave surface margin. At the same time, this obtuse cave surface margin gives a strong enamel, okay. At the gingival area also, it also gives a 30 to 40 degrees marginal metal which can be burnished. At the same time, it provides a lap sliding fit. On the proximal flare, coming to proximal flares, the proximal flares also extends the restoration into the proximal embrasures, which can be burnished, finished, and polished. At the same time, provides a obtuse cave surface margin, strong obtuse cave surface margin. In some cases, we can give proximal flares more extending into the gingival embrasures. Those are called secondary proximal flares, which are extensions of the primary proximal flares. These are given in cases where there is caries is there or any defect which is there which you want to get it involved into the restoration. So the various burrs used for the preparation of the inlay are number 271 burr, number 169L burr, number 8862 slender fine grit flame shaped diamond instruments. The number 271 burr is a burr which is 3 millimeters in length, and at the tip it has got a diameter of 0.8 millimeters. The burr will be diverging from the tip towards the shank. So this shape of the burr enables your preparation, which is diverging from the pulpal floor to the cave surface margin. 169L burr is also a burr which is diverging from the tip of the burr to the shank instrument, but unlike 271 burr, the 169L burr has a tip diameter of 0.5 millimeters and a length of 5 millimeters. This burr 169L burr is used for the preparation of the proximal box. 8862 slender fine grit flame shaped diamond instrument is used for preparation of the bevels, usually the occlusal, gingival and the proximal flares. So let's look at the preparation. How is it carried out? The first step is to give a small punch cut in the central area with your 271 burr and 1.5 millimeter deep, and then slowly follow the defective developmental grooves, making an isthmus approximately 1.5 millimeters deep. Extend the preparation like this. to complete the occlusal outline. Okay, do not extend complete, do not go through the marginal ridge completely when you are doing the occlusal outline. Okay, the preparation depth is 1.5 millimeters. So now you change your burr to 169 L burr, go somewhat deeper, maybe 1 millimeter deeper with 169 L burr. As I said previously, the depth of the preparation was 1.5. Now you will go into 2.5 millimeters. Or give a small proximal ditch cut with 169 L burr. Slowly move towards the marginal ridge until the marginal ridge becomes weaker, very thin. Taking a sharp enamel chisel, bi-angle chisel, break the undermined tooth structure and expedite the preparation of the proximal box. The 169L burr is then used to extend the box facially as well as lingually to clear the preparation from the contacts. This is how the proximal box looks like after the preparation. Widen the isthmus. Isthmus is the area which connects your occlusal to the proximal box. Widen it with your 169L burr. Take a hatchet or a bi-angle chisel and smoothen the facial as well as the lingual or palatal surfaces of the proximal box. Take an end cutting bar, 957 end cutting bar, smoothen the pulpal floor of the isthmus. A sharp gingival marginal trimmer can be used to create a V-shaped groove at the junction of the axial as well as gingival floor of the box. This provides extra retention for the restoration. This is how a V-shaped gingival groove looks like at the junction of the pulpal as well as pulpal and the gingival wall. Instead of a V-shaped groove, you can also give grooves at the junction of facio-axial and lingo-axial or palato-axial line angles. This is usually placed with 169 L bar, okay, which provides secondary retention to the restoration. Using a flame-shaped burr after the preparation of the proximal box, slowly extend the facial and lingual surfaces of the proximal box into the embrasure. This procedure provides a obtuse cavus surface margin on the proximal box, providing a strong enamel preventing it from fracture, as well as provides 30 to 40 degrees marginal metal which can be burnished, okay, allowing it for finishing and polishing of the restoration during the later stages. So how do we start with the proximal flare? To start the flare, place the tip of the diamond in the proximal box and use small tip diameter to cut the cavus surface angle of the box from the gingival floor, slowly progressing towards the occlusal. Once the tip can go, slowly continue the occlusal sweep of the diamond without changing the angle or the direction of the instrument. With the space now created by the first pass of the diamond tip, now it is possible to use a larger portion of the instrument which can remove tooth structure efficiently. So that's how we prepare the proximal flare. Once the flare is done, you can smoothen the flare using a sand disc for shaping of the. To prepare a gingival bevel, lean the flame-shaped instrument over the pulpo-axial line angle to produce a proper bevel on the gingival floor. The gingival bevel provides for a lap sliding fit for your restoration. So let's look at the gingival bevel's advantages and disadvantages. Okay, this is a very important aspect usually asked for 2 marks short answer questions. Okay, so prepare well for this one. So the advantages of gingival bevels are it eliminates the possibility of leaving weak or unsupported enamel on the gingival wall. It provides for a strong obtuse angle of the tooth structure which aids in finishing of the casting and a design which lends itself to a more efficient sealing of the margins of the restoration. Okay. So if you see the gingival bevel, it provides for a 30 degrees marginal metal, okay, and provides for a lap sliding fit. The disadvantages: failure or formation of weak margins because of presence of undermined rods can be possible. Bevels more than 45 degrees results in overextension or difficulty in impression making, fabricating wax pattern and finishing of the restoration. Take care to blend the gingival bevel with the facial and lingual flares to avoid scooped out areas. So continue your gingival bevel and slowly merge with your proximal flares. After that, we move on slowly to the give a occlusal bevels. Occlusal bevel is given with again 8862 diamond with the tip of the instrument placed at the cavo surface margin on the occlusal aspect. This provides for a 40 degrees marginal metal which can be burnished after the restoration has been placed. Carefully now blend the proximal flares with the occlusal bevels to produce a smooth continuous finish line. Use a flame-shaped carbide finishing bar to go over all the flares as well as the gingival bevel. A flame-shaped carbide instrument is also used to refine the occlusal bevel. So this is our finished completed class 2 inlay preparation looks like. You have an occlusal and proximal cavity preparation with the cavity walls diverging from the pulpal floor towards the occlusal side. On the occlusal aspect, on the cavo surface margin, you can see an occlusal gingival bevel, the occlusal bevel. On the proximal floor, on the proximal box, you can see the facial and lingual surfaces facial and lingual surfaces extending into the embrasures which are called as proximal flares. On the gingival cavo surface margin, you given gingival bevel. You have to take care that all these bevels, gingival, proximal flares and the occlusal bevel are all blended together to give a smooth continuous finish line. Again, this is how preparation looks. Okay. These are the pictures of the embo preparation on a maxillary molar having unaffected oblique ridge. In the picture, you can clearly see, I am repeating again, cavity preparation with the walls diverging 2 to 4 degrees from the pulpal floor towards the occlusal aspect, clear occlusal bevel flares as well as gingival bevel. If you see, all of them are continuous, there is no discontinuity or breakage in the occlusal bevel towards the flare towards the gingival bevel. It should be continuous and smooth. Now let's look at on that is about inlay preparation, and now we go to the onlay preparation. Onlay preparation is a cast metal restoration which involves the occlusal and proximal aspects of the posterior tooth and caps all cusps. Okay, in an inlay preparation, it may not cap cusp or it may cap cusp but not all cusp. That's the difference. Onlay preparation caps all the cusp. Inlay preparation may or may not cap cusps. So all the cusps are involved in an onlay. So what are the indications before we go? Let's look at what are the indications for cusp capping. If your preparation is extending more than one half of the intercuspal distance, then there is a requirement to cap the cusp because the cusps are weak enough and the restorative force, if you are not capping the cusp, the forces of occlusion will lead to fracture of the tooth structure. To prevent the further fracture of the tooth structure, brace the tooth structure by the restoration, we do something. So how do we cap the cusp? So let's look at a case in a mandibular molar where the distolingual cusp has weakened because the tooth has wider on the distolingual cusp. This is because of extensive caries on the floor. So once you identify that the distolingual cusp is weaker and you need to do cusp capping, you take a 271 bar and place depth orientation grooves on that one. The depth orientation groove is usually 1 millimeter for the non-functional cusp and 1.5 millimeter for the functional cusp. In this case, it being a distolingual cusp, it should be 1 millimeter because it is a non-functional cusp. So place the depth orientation grooves. After placing the depth orientation grooves, carefully join all the depth orientation grooves to have a smooth preparation. After placing the depth orientation grooves, we need to take 8862 diamond and place a counter bevel which is extending away onto the to the, it is placed away from the tooth preparation. It is called as a counter bevel. Unlike the occlusal bevel, which is towards the preparation, towards the cavity, the counter bevel is placed away from the cavity preparation. The reason for placing the counter bevel is to provide the 30 degrees to 40 degrees marginal metal, which can be burnished, as well as to provide a lap sliding fit and move the margins of the restoration away from the occlusal forces. After the cuspal reduction and counter beveling, we will take an 169L burr and prepare a proximal grooves for secondary retention. 8862 diamond is used to bevel the axiopulpal line angle. The 8862 diamond is again run over the counter bevel, slowly blending with the proximal flares and the gingival bevel and with the occlusal bevel on the opposite side, so that you get a continuous smooth cavo surface margin, okay, on all the aspects. Let's look at how onlay preparation is done. If you see the picture here, you have got a big carious lesions which is undermining all the cusps, indicating for cuspal reduction or cusp capping for all the cusps for this mandibular molar. Once you make a decision that cuspal capping has to be done for all the cusps, start placing depth orientation grooves. The depth orientation grooves is 1 millimeter for non-functional cusp, here it lingual cusp, and 1.5 millimeters for functional cusp. Once the depth orientation grooves are in place, slowly merge all the depth orientation grooves with the 271 bars. So you have a smooth finish like this. Once the cuspal reduction has been done, then the second step is to give counter bevels. Counter bevels are given in an opposite direction towards the outside surface in comparison to the occlusal cavity. The counter bevel provides for a 30 degrees marginal metal which can be burnished, as well as moves the cavo surface margin away from the forces of mastication. Once all the counter bevels should be slowly blended with the 8862 diamond. The counter bevels are blended with the proximal flares and with the gingival bevel to get a smooth cavo surface margin on all surfaces on all areas without any discontinuity. Then after that, use a 169L burr to give proximal grooves for extra retention. So let's look at other extra retentive features which can be given other than proximal bevels for an onlay preparation or cast metal restorations. The first preparation here I am discussing is a skirt. Skirt is an extension of your proximal flare beyond the embrasure. Okay, it goes beyond the proximal embrasure and slightly extends onto the buccal or lingual surfaces. Okay, the reason for giving a skirt is for extra retention. These skirts are usually given on the proximal aspects of the preparation in opposite direction of cusp capping. If you have done a cusp capping on the lingual surface, skirts are given on the facial surface. If you do a cusp capping on the facial surface, you give. If you do cuspal reduction on the facial surface, skirts are given on the lingual surface. So we get an extra retention on the opposite direction to increase the retention forms. Skirts are usually not given on facial mesial surfaces of maxillary, premolars and molars to prevent to prevent the metal to show when the patient is smiling. Okay, for aesthetic reasons, we do not give skirts on the mesial surface of the maxillary, premolars as well as molars. It is usually can be given from maxillary second molar or lower molars. So how do we give a skirt? We take a 8862 diamond, give a small depth cut. Okay. Once a small depth cut is given at the line angle of the proximal and facial wall, here if you see from the proximal and facial wall is given, small depth cut is given with 8862 diamond. Then this, after placing the depth cut, we slowly run the 8862 diamond from the line angle, slowly extending into the proximal surface, into the proximal area. So the main aim is to blend the proximal flare with the skirt. Again, our goal is to provide a 30 degrees marginal metal here, so which can be burnished after the restoration has been placed. So this is how, once a depth cut is given, the 8862 diamond is slowly run into the proximal area and blended with the proximal flare. You need to take care, once the skirt has been given, you need to take care to blend this skirt with the proximal flare, continue to the gingival, bevel and to the opposite area. So all the features should be blended very carefully to have a smooth cavo surface margin on all areas of the preparation. So again, skirts are given for extra retention in areas opposite to the cusp capping for extra retention. Coming to collar, unlike skirt, collar is given on the same area where cuspal reduction has been done. Okay, so once you do the cuspal reduction to get extra retention, we give a collar on the same cusp. So with a 271 burr, we do place a depth cut. Okay, to get a 1 millimeter depth cut will be placed, and it's something like how you are preparing the margin for preparing a tooth for crown. So we go around the cusp, okay, to prepare a collar. Again, once a collar has been prepared, you need to give a bevel at the end of the collar to provide for a lap sliding fit and 30 degrees marginal metal. The bevel which is given for the collar at the cavo surface margin of the collar should be blended with your proximal flares, which should also be blended with the gingival bevels. So collar is given on the same cusp where the cuspal reduction is being done, whereas the skirt is given on the opposite direction of the preparation where the cuspal reduction has been done. Slot is one more extra retentive features which can be given to increase retention. Okay, it is given in the pulpal floor opposite to the area of the proximal box. If the proximal box has become very widened and cuspal reduction has been done, so you don't have enough occlusal height to provide for a lot of retention, so we give something called as a slot. Slot is usually placed with 169L diamond. Okay, the depth of the slot is usually 2 millimeters and width is 0.5 millimeters. So you need to take care that the preparation of slot is away from the pulpal horn to prevent perforation. The tooth for inlay and onlay. You need to take an impression or else prepare the wax pattern in the patient's mouth and send it to the lab. Once the cast restoration uh, is received from the lab, you need to carefully see the cast restoration and cement it. Hope you like the lecture. In case of any doubts, please do not hesitate to approach me in the clinics. Thank you very much.